So, we're sitting here with the great Rachel Z, famed keyboard player in a jazz, pop, rock realm. So, Rachel, welcome to Munich.
Thanks.
How did you enjoy your concert with your husband last night?
Oh, wow. At Unterfahrt? Is that how you say it?
Unterfahrt,
Unterfahrt.
yeah.
Yeah, great name.
Yeah.
We had a great time. Okay, like the, I had a great day though beforehand at the hospital.
Beforehand?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Well, thanks to you, we went to get a little x-ray for this because when it was really hurting and I was very concerned and you were very kind to answer my email about it. So, what had happened in Paris was we got there. We had traveled so many hours, 2 flights, delayed bags, a lot of work to get to Paris. We get to Paris, we go right to the club and set up for 2 hours. It's a really small stage. We were really it was like a Lego puzzle, right? We were so happy we go to play. So then I play my solo piece, which is a song that's called What About the Kids, right? So it's for me, it's for the kids, and they were talking. And then I just got so upset, and because I was I'm not reaching them, they're not getting me. And I just smashed the piano, avant-garde style, Cecil Taylor style. But I realized at that moment that I smashed it too hard because I almost passed out, man. I hit it so hard. Mm-hmm. So then, but they loved it. They thought it was part of the act. So then I had to get through the whole set, and then it was really crazy. So then it just really didn't get better in the way I thought. So when I came to Munich, you really helped me out. We got an x-ray which confirmed that I did fracture it, which I probably should have taken karate classes so that I would have broken the piano and not my hand, but sometimes when people, you really want to be respected as a musician, right? And so many musicians, they play for dinners and they don't even play really good gigs. We get to play good gigs, but some people always get this experience. So I guess it was kind of no more. I was saying that.
That was your rock star moment.
Yeah, and I mean, it came a little late in life, because the boys in the band told me, oh yeah, I broke my hand when I was 20, over some girl, they all broke their hand, so I didn't feel so bad.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story, and we hope for the best for your recovery, and it will be forever in the books. And now it's forever on tape.
Rachel Z has a bad Calabrian temper. Yes.
Yeah, so that was a little tragedy that happened for you. I looked at your touring schedule and it seems pretty grueling. A lot of traveling, and back and forth and everything. How do you manage to keep healthy and sane? Well, now, but during the process,
Well, that's a great question. Now, okay, when I was 20. Early 20s, I played with Steps Ahead, and that was the kind of touring we did, one-nighters for 26 days in a row, and it was hard too, and I realized that Mike Manieri, he flew a 16-space rack of mine and 2 keyboards, which was very expensive, but he allowed me to bring my sound, that I loved, because I would I had a bunch of stuff in the rack, S750 and M1, a wave station, really good. And I really super enjoyed having my gear with me. I had an Oberheim expander, very heavy, so. Now we're doing a similar kind of tour but we got some support from some companies, so that was essential that they helped us get the gear here. And it's a very hard tour, this tour, because we were jumping all over Europe, and the last week we started driving, but then we had it was 13 hours from Brno to Zurich. And then we just hit the stage, set up, and played. But we know the promoter there, Corinne, and Moods is a great club. And sometimes when you're going to play for your friends, you can do it.
Okay.
You know, and we have friends that we established with Omar and myself with the Trio of Oz, and people like you, you know, that I meet, you know, maybe by email. We feel your support, you know, like from the Peter Gabriel tour, Roger Salem. He's part of the Peter Gabriel, you know, experience in Switzerland.
So it gives you a kind of network.
A network.
To rely on of
yeah.
sorts, yeah.
And Peter Gabriel fans are really special because they're very smart and they accomplish things in their life. I don't know why, but the whole Italian team, we were friends with the fan club there, and they helped us book gigs in the beginning of the Oz travels when I got together with Omar. And so we love being out on tour. And we plan to route it a little better, but we do have a beautiful Mercedes Sprinter, German car, love it, and it's very comfortable. So although it's long drives, everyone's getting enough rest, and Omar and I do meditation.
Okay,
Which we did that piece, Lightness, last night.
Yeah.
And I really felt like the audience really did connect to that, and that was really beautiful.
Great guitar intro too.
Yeah, he did a nice one.
Yeah.
We're explaining, you know, he didn't know what the concept was. Louis knew, you know, and I think he jumped in a really cool way and expressed the feeling in a really unique way too.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, meditation seems to go a long way. I believe.
Yeah.
You know, you just mentioned Peter Gabriel. I mean, it's like your record, if you will, is so much more than Peter Gabriel. It's like, let me just do the list, you know, like Wayne Shorter, Al Di Meola, Terry Lynn Carrington, and then, of course, in your own right, 9 solo albums.
Yeah, 11, but...
Oh, my list is wrong then. 11, okay. And then with Omar, the different incarnations of experience of Oz. But I think I told you yesterday that for me you were obviously connected with, because it was the first impression I had of you, like with Peter Gabriel, on the what was the tour called again?
Growing Up.
On the Growing Up tour, exactly. And it was like in the 2000s, right? Early 2000s? Mm-hmm. And so you sported the Kurzweil K2600, and I believe also this guitar type, Roland guitar type
axe.
thing, the axe. So this will always be.
I love that thing. I need to get one again. Yeah, you just reminded me. And then,
there's a new one out too, I think, by them.
That's a great idea, Thilo. We can do dueling guitar.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So I thought back about that time, and I was wondering, if you look back like at those Peter Gabriel times with the Kurzweil and the Roland X, how has your keyboard setup evolved since then?
Great question, man. Well, okay, so I had always wanted a Kurzweil when I was maybe younger, but I couldn't afford it, you know, and they were also extremely heavy. And, you know, I'm like, I'm fairly strong, but I couldn't move a weighted controller when I was going to school in Boston. Oh, yeah. So I always used like a lighter keyboard that I could play piano. I would just pretend in my mind, you know, because I'm really a piano-based person, but I could, if it sounded good, I could do it. You know, like the Roland, oh shoot, I forgot the name of the module.
The JV?
No, it was the Roland piano.
Oh,
piano
okay. Is it MKS? Yeah.
How could I forget? That was my baby. So that thing sounded so damn good that it was like, okay, I can get the message across, right? Yeah. But at the point where I could finally, you know, play a Kurzweil, it first happened when I went to Real World to do the audition for Peter Gabriel, and he was like, I was on tour with Pino Daniele. And on that tour, we were using a Yamaha Grand Touch because Pino liked the look of the grand piano, and that thing is very nice too. I had endorsed Yamaha for many years too. I had a Mark IV, you know, and we did a lot of MIDI stuff on Love Is the Power, where we actually took the piano. We did the pre-production and then took the piano into the studio and did tracks and watching the piano play what I programmed. That was fun. But anyway,
It's like a player piano.
the
Okay.
Yamaha Mark IV, I believe it is. It was a
Okay.
MIDI piano,
Okay.
grand piano. Though.
Okay.
Like an S factory 9-foot
Okay.
piano.
Okay.
Really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that thing was really, really cool. So that was early technology with the digital, kind of MIDI pianos too. But But anyway, so I got to real world, and Peter was like, "Okay, let's." He just told me the songs the night before because we had to learn a lot of music quickly, and that was part of the audition. Can you learn music quickly? Can you learn it by ear, write the charts, know the song? And then when I got there, I realized the other part was, can you make the sounds? So I did kind of slap together a couple pads, and I played Mercy Street, I played In Your Eyes. Well, yeah, so at the audition, I was like blown away, because it was like for me to meet Peter Gabriel was pretty much the same as any fan, because I loved his music. I loved So and everything before that, Genesis. And because of that, it was really an honor just to show up and do the audition, And so then he taped the audition. I didn't know he was taping it.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't
Okay.
know. And his baby was banging on the piano while I was playing, and I was like, damn, they're not even listening. They must not like it. But actually, they were taping it, so he didn't need to listen. But they didn't know the baby's banging was in my headphones. When I see Isaac, I'm going to be like, man, he's probably a grown man now. Yeah. So... but anyway, he was the baby in the logo of the Growing Up.
Okay.
So it was pretty cute, actually. So then Peter listened to the tapes, and a week later he called me and told me I had the gig. He listened to them blindly. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. So, I mean, that really, listen blindly, but I mean, how more objective can you be, Wow.
And that's cool, because, like...
You must have been really impressive then.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, I guess I played the right stuff.
Right.
But it makes sense that I would maybe, like, sync with him, because, when you grow up with that music and you love it so much and you end up in the band, that's the best experience,
I'm
right?
sure.
For what we do as keyboardists,
Yeah.
And then, like, the step after that is taking that experience and making your own music and trying to get your music to that level. Like that, it's a process, always a process.
I see.
Yeah.
So now...
But I didn't answer your question about the Kurzweil, though.
Yeah.
That piece of gear is so beautiful. The K2600, and they now have the PC3K7, also very good. Those pieces of gear... I love the sampling, the quality of the samples, and the way the engine operated for the K2600. It just was, you could put, do different levels. It was almost like, I don't know, it was very, very interesting the way you could combine sounds. And Jeff Allison from Kurzweil helped me program some of the refined parts of it, because that thing is deep.
I know.
So I have a certain level of expertise, but he had like the fine tuning. So together we were able to make, like, I don't know, we had to make a lot of sounds, like over 100 sounds in, less than 2 weeks. Like, we had to be ready to play the show in 2 weeks, 22 songs.
It's a very musical, it sounds real, but it's a very musical instrument in the best way,
It's lovely.
And it's a timeless piece, really.
Timeless.
Yeah.
That's a great word to describe it. And, I really like it, And so, I don't know, we can move into new gear,
Well, I was going to say, now fast forward like 14 years or something, 2018. So you look at looking at your setup now. What has changed? It's obvious what has changed, but it's more a philosophical point now. What is changed,
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I stayed with the Kurzweil stuff until like about last year. And I was using a PC3K7, which is sort of like the the new version of the 2600. It's lighter. It's got semi-weighted keys, and it's 76 key, so I could pick it up. So that was a good thing, and I used that. I liked it a lot, and I used a mini Moog, a Moog Voyager, and that was my rig. And then I have the computer, and the computer was running Ableton. I use Ableton as the host.
Okay.
I don't know. I just like the way it you can access the things. I don't really use MainStage because it crashed on me a couple times.
Okay.
And I felt very boxed in when it crashed.
Okay.
It was tough. But if you have a computer with SSD drives, you can reboot pretty fast. But Ableton's really stable.
Okay.
Plus, there's a lot of other things you can do with the processing, and its own internal sounds are nice. So I use the host sounds from Ableton. I use Spectrasonics, Omnisphere. I use Native Instruments, Massive, and Absinthe. And I have Stutter Edit, which I haven't really used yet, and I want to play piano and do stutter editing.
Okay.
Because I really like BT.
Okay.
So, and let's see what else is in there. Some other stuff, but I can't talk about that because it crashed Live 10, and so I don't want to recommend it.
Okay.
Yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So you're actually playing samples through Ableton. All right.
Yeah, and I'm using a lot of Omnisphere. I find I use 8 instances of Omnisphere because it's just so huge sounding. It's amazing. So that being such a great sound, Omnisphere was just so beautiful. I was like, okay, so let me see what else is out there, right? And so Omar plays the V drums a lot.
Okay.
And so my friend Max from Italy, he's Roland product manager guy. He's so cool. He was like, check out the RD2000. That was their new flagship piece of gear. And I used to use an A80 back in the day. I love that controller. Then I used an A90, but the piano, I always dreamed of a certain lighter weight. You probably did too as a keyboardist. We all dream of the lightweight machine, weighted keys with a beautiful piano engine. And I have a V piano, by the way. V piano is perfect, the original V piano. But the RD2000 has the original V piano, engine. And so I was like, okay, you got me. And it has 4 separate MIDI channels sliders with internal banks, and then 4 external banks, so it can control Ableton. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 MIDI channels, and I have sliders, and so I can choose and select different sounds, and then I can program those setups.
It's the perfect master keyboard for you.
Master keyboard.
Yeah. See.
Oh my God! It's like the flagship master keyboard for someone who is doing really fast patch changes and stuff like that. So that, and it sort of functions similarly to the Kurzweil, where I use a sample. I might even sample Omar singing something, right? And then I have that, and then I have a pad. So I can put, all kinds of weird stuff together. And, I've just begun with it, so we'll see what else is going to happen with that piece. And then I was really I got into EDM, over the last 5 years.
Okay.
Right? And it's...
Some more rhythm here.
Yeah. Wow. So being into EDM, I love the DJ mentality of micro-sampling and all that stuff, and I like Ebop Orbs, which I was getting into on the Moog, sample and hold stuff, And Adam Holtzman came over and showed me a bunch of stuff that he does with the Moog, and we had a great time. And then so then I've been studying the mini Moog, then I did a NAMM show with Omar where I used a Model D. But when I got to the Model D, it had it was like a sine wave. And I was like, oh crap. Because I never really programmed from the sine wave.
Ma come la situazione? Io sono in Germania adesso perché sono proprio nel centro.
Should we take a break?
Ma perché? Ma aspetta un attimo, excuse me. You have a kiwi. More kiwi. Morbid. Not strong. Perché onesti non
Yeah,
puoi.
we should probably take a break, right? Take a minute.
Ah, scusa, allora Davide
Much longer he's gonna.
che mi ha scritto quelli che vengono sicuri. Là c'è onesti.
We were stopping at the sine wave.
Yeah, I'll tell you about the Model D thing,
Yeah.
because it's funny. It's interesting. You'll like it.
Senza dare spiegazioni, giusto?
Yeah, Adam, when he came over, it was so funny because he showed me all this shit. I videotaped it, and then I went kayaking and dropped my phone in the lake, and I lost the whole video.
Oh man.
Sucked, because he showed me some cool shit. Yeah, getting into EDM.
Yeah.
And like I started getting into the sequencing and like just kind of the concept of sample and hold, and which probably is pretty obvious to a lot of people, but I never had an analog. I had an Oberheim expander, which is super complicated, you know, and I made sounds with that back in the day that I loved because you could change the vowel, so each time you hit it, you would go, and I had these really nice Zawinuli sounds.
Okay.
And that was with Steps Ahead, and with Wayne Shorter on High Life, I programmed a lot of pads that were very motiony. But since that synth, I've never, you know, it's very big again, you know, so you're like, well, how do I deal with this? So I kind of basically, to make a long story short, after having to program the Model D, I was like, oh, I'm really understanding, I'm liking programming from the sine wave, this is fun. Yeah. And so then when I got the opportunity to get a JDXA, I was like, I really like that it has all onboard features that you know, performance features. Yeah. And I have a friend, Tim Reese, he plays in an alternative, Tim Rouse, sorry, he plays in a band called Beauty in the Breakdown, which is like a line from a Bjork song, Let Go, there's beauty in the breakdown, and that's the name of his band. And he showed me what he does with the JDXA on a dance gig, hardcore dance, you know, like, you know, 4 on the floor the whole night. And it was so beautiful. Just like taking the scape of the pad or the sequencer and changing everything and having the sound be the reharm, you know, the tone of the sound. And so I'm just getting more into that, and I really enjoy doing that with Omar because he's like the ultimate, you know, dance drummer as well as being, you know, weather report straight. You know, he can play anything, but he does make people dance. And so when we get into the dance thing, it's very authentic. And so the thing I like about the JDXA is it's got the tap tempo on board, so you can really very quickly lock. And he, you know, Omar's like almost a machine. He moves very little. Like you could pretty much lock the tap tempo and just be like very close, like maybe 2 BPM, right, off, which is, you know, pretty amazing. Like I can adjust it right away if he speeds up like 2 BPM. Or slows down 2. It's like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really fun. So that's kind of why I wanted a performance synth.
I see, I can see that.
Yeah, I really like that. And I like having only 2 keyboards too, because before I was using an A800 to control the computer, but it just gets to be kind of too much, you know?
I see. Yeah, I wonder that myself sometimes, like when you have people just thinking of somebody, well, thinking Rick Wakeman, yes. To this day, he has like 12 keyboards on stage or something. Or maybe it's sort of redundant, even though it's 12 different keyboards. But wow, it looks cool, and the cape. But
and he has roadies too.
But yeah, probably cutting down. It's not too bad idea, especially these days when you can actually have so much access via the MacBook, you know, and Ableton and stuff like that.
Well, the truth is, if you really listen inside your computer, a lot of the sounds sound really super incredible.
Yeah.
You know, so because cats are.
It's like a quantum leap happening.
Yeah.
Almost constantly, right?
Yeah, because the processor power is expanding, and I mean, you know, you do have Ivory within the computer. That is a great program. It's just that it's like, it's very beautiful. Sometimes it's more like, how does the computer feel when you play it? You know, so like.
You mean like a sort of, it's just like slightly delayed?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you could get a little latency, and that can make it not as fun as playing like, oh, I'm touching the keyboard that's making the sound.
Yeah.
So I like having both. And also I'm really into safety backup because, you know, being a live player, we've had every possibility of getting kind of basically screwed over live, you know, like, so, you know, you really want to have an axe that makes noise. Right when you touch it, you need at least one axe.
I know.
You know,
I know.
Because the cable falls out, or you know.
Something to be said for that, for sure.
Definitely,
Yeah.
you just need at least one.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's really, it's amazing how versatile you two guys are. You know, Omar and you. I mean, you keep evolving. You know, you keep exploring all this EDM thing. I mean, it's just amazing that you keep, you know, being open and fresh to to these kind of things. Entschuldigung, ich möchte nicht unhöflich sein, aber wir machen hier ein Fernsehinterview, wenn vielleicht die Leute darüber sitzen können, wenn es zu laut wird hier, dann haben wir ein Riesenproblem. Kann man das fertig machen, dass die da vor ins Eck sitzen, anstatt direkt.
Anmelden. Ich kann nicht die Gäste einfach so.
Ja, okay, ich sag's halt jetzt nur, weil es dauert jetzt noch eine Viertelstunde oder so, aber wenn die Leute halt nachher reden. Weil die Lobby hat mich extra hierher geschickt, um das zu machen.
Okay. Also was wäre für Sie
Also wenn sie einfach da vorne wenigstens hinsetzen würden, ans Eck und nicht direkt neben uns quasi. Ja.
is it okay?
Dankeschön. So, you want to order something more? Does it turn around?
I just wanted nuts if she has almonds.
Haben Sie noch Nüsse oder Mandeln oder irgendwas? Okay, danke. So yeah, the versatility aspect just amazes me. Of you know, even going into EDM, developing interest.
Yeah, that's
in this, you know.
actually really tricky because, wow, I mean, it's really a DJ culture, and it's also electronic musician culture. And I'm studying some things at Berkeley with it's called the EPD department, Electronic Music and Production.
Okay.
No, Electronic Production and Design.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're helping me out with, you know, just getting deeper into Ableton to be a complete master of that because, you know, that's like, to me, the primary program of that sound. And so, you know, learning to, you know, be able to DJ and micro sample and like put all that, you know, I have a push. I was going to bring the push for this tour, but I was just like, it was too much stuff to fly, to be honest. Like, they already had lost my bag on the first gig.
Oh, man.
And I was, it was with my mixer, and you notice I have a DJ stand, and I have a mixer. Thanks. Yeah, I bring my own mixer. It's a little simple mixer, but again, it's about being independent when you're on tour. Like, I have my whole cable snake, because, you know, then I just send them two XLR outs, and they can't really, they don't get messed up. You don't have 15 direct boxes, or, you know what I'm saying? So just keeping it very self-contained, bring what you can, and send them the simplest possible out. But anyway, so with
Less
the
boxes, less problems.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with the EDM thing, I think it's like very progressive, and I love the sounds, and the kids are doing some amazing stuff with dubstep, and a DJ, like, he's older now, Hudson Mohawk. He is just so innovative to me. Like, when I started hearing his samples and the way he used voice and orchestra and just the way he programs his beats, I just fell in love with the style, and it was really one of my students at the new school that I can credit. His name's Sapphire, he's a sax player, one of the best sax players to come through the school that I had. And he was like, I want to do dance music. And I was like, why? And then he played me some of his stuff, and I was like, what is this? And he went down the street to a school called Dub Spot, and he took a whole history of dance music class, and I was like, wow. And then he gave me the whole class. Like, I went to his house, in 4 hours he played me like the history of dance, from like the French are way on top of that, Disclosure, and then Daft Punk, of course. And when Omar played with Daft Punk, that just solidified it for me, because I was like, wow, this is so beautiful.
I'm actually getting into Daft Punk later.
Yeah.
Because it occurred to me last night for some particular reason.
Yeah. I mean, Daft Punk, it's hard to explain. It's the vocoder stuff that they do with, like, it was like they used kind of like a band that sounds real, but then they had the robots singing, and the robots sang a couple songs on that, and I don't know if people really understood how innovative that is, because it was the robot talking about how lonely he is, and I just was like, it made me cry, because I was like, that would be really sad to be a robot alone, but you're not really a person. So yeah, anyway.
Also, a few minutes ago, just a shout out to the people who may not be in the know. Everybody who is be able to get his hands on the High Life record by Wayne Shorter, please do. Arrangements by Rachel, so I can only highly recommend. It's not too easy to get that record, that CD, by the way. It's kind of, I don't know if it's out of print or something, but you can get it, but it's like you have to order it or something.
Oh, really? Can you get it online on iTunes?
That I'm not sure if it's on iTunes, but
I think it is.
I remember I got it on can I say this, on a major online platform, and but it was like, I think it had to be ordered from the US or something. I don't know. It was not just like you order your regular whatever.
Well, Wayne Shorter's High Life record. That record is really important music of his compositions, and I just feel blessed that I got to be the one that helped him. He gave me the pages. It was like a factory. He just gave me the page. He's like, okay, and then I would just orchestrate it like how he wanted it, And so I was doing what was called Cynthia. We were Cynthia, and he got to hear it before, and so he could change things. So the first arrangement we did was Children of the Night, and it was like 40 tracks of keyboards, which we keyboard players love. So amazing. And it was, but a lot of it was samples too. It was the S750, flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, bass clarinet, French horn. And that's like kind of a wind ensemble that I like. And I did a record called Room of One's Own, and I used those instruments. And we used the same concept of Cynthia with a real wind ensemble. So I really like that. I want to do another record like that.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get in like the new product, I think, for that. I forget what they're called. It was a super amazing orchestra, but right now I can't remember it. Eric Persing told me which one to get.
Okay.
So I'll be doing some more stuff with that. It's amazing you could do that in a laptop now.
Yeah.
Because this took like a whole rack of gear, like a 16-space rack of outboard gear, to do that record. It was like ridiculous,
There is the maybe it's, I don't know if it's the East West or something. They have a product out that you can do all kinds of orchestration stuff with it.
It's something Hans Zimmer uses, and I can't remember.
I can't think of the name either now,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But anyway, I'm excited about where we're at with
Yeah.
technology, and I think the kids are excited too, because they can just, like my kids that I work with at Berkeley, they're adorable. They're like, oh, well, we don't use a keyboard, we just play the laptop. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to do a song just playing the laptop, and it's not so easy. Like, they just whip up stuff really fast, and it's cute. So I got to work hard to keep up with them.
I see. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You play the laptop. Yeah. On the concert last night, I realized that you trade, or at least appear to me, you trade solos with the guitar player Louis Winsberg in an interesting way, because he used pedals. I talked to him after the gig last night because I asked him, well, where's your guitar synthesizer? I didn't see anything on your guitar. He said, no synthesizer, I have pedals,
Yeah.
Because I was looking and listening, and in my mind I heard synth sounds, but you weren't playing this particular lines,
Yeah.
So he was playing it, and I found that so interesting how, and I believe many times when he was playing this stuff, you were using the Spectrasonics to layer the Omnisphere.
Which tune? Do you remember?
I don't remember
or was
the
it
tune.
Line
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
or pads?
Your pads.
Well, the pads really. I use Spectrasonics a lot, and I also. But there's several sounds that I mix the. It's like one instance of Omnisphere, which is a vocal sound, and then another is a sparkly pad from Ableton.
Oh, that was Ableton.
It's
Okay.
Ableton,
So
and
that's
then
okay.
but that's one, and then there's on this tune Lightness. I have like a lot of layers. I have a French horn, I have an oboe, and then I have two instances of Omnisphere. One is it's one instance of Massive.
Okay.
That is like this kind of it's called like a banjuri.
All right.
And that's like kind of an Indian instrument.
Okay.
And then the other one was like an Omnisphere kind of motion synth.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I make sounds with the JD too. That's what I love about the JDXA. You can program sounds, and then I have some DJ made sounds that I got, and those are nice motion sounds, and then you can change. So it could be a lot. It could be anything because I use the pads from every direction. But usually when I'm soloing, I'm using the JDXA
Okay.
with single lines,
Mhm.
but with the SE2,
Okay.
which I don't know if you saw that little thing.
I saw it. Yeah.
That thing is
You showed me afterwards. Yeah.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
It's like this big. I
It's
call
a
it-
real analog device, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Studio Electronics and Roland
Mhm.
partnered,
Mhm.
and I would say bang for the buck is huge. It's like I just love you. Like I have a concept with from the old days, really,
Mhm.
when you just have a synth that does one thing really well. Like say it has a beautiful sine wave, and it has like a really nice sawtooth, and you combine the basic sound with the JD, which does complex stuff because it's got 4 digital, 4 analog. So then together you find that tone,
Wow.
and it's really fat, but it's like literally 8 or about 6 oscillators of analog and 4 digital. So it's like kind of huge. Again, in the old days, that would be a 16 space rack.
I see. Yeah.
So it's fun to
That's
have
really
it
fun.
just in this little
It's
tiny
amazing.
box.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, almost like Keith Emerson's wall, right behind it, like this.
Yeah, actually, Lyle Mays and I talked about this in about 1990. I went to see him because, man, remember how he would have like the OBXA?
Yeah.
I love the Oberheim sound, by the way, and I met Tom Oberheim. Oh my God, he's so cool. So Lyle and I were talking about it, and he said, someday we'll just be able to get all this sound in a little box. And I'm like, you think so? I'm like, that would be good, because I was moving 2 EAW cabinets. They each weighed 90 pounds. I moved 2 keyboards, like a DX7 and a D50.
She's allowed, she's family, so.
She's a little baby. And then, like, I had, the mixer weighed 50 pounds anyway, and the amp, they weren't together, and the speakers were not powered. You had to bring the amp, so I had a Carver, which was lighter. So this was a huge amount of gear. I moved it myself to every gig in Boston. And so Lyle and I would talk about that, and so where we are today, I think, is a blessing, really, like, for your back too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can do it all in a laptop if you want to.
Right. I will do a little break. Beginning of part 2, running again.
Part 2.
Yeah. Speaking of not yours actually, but your husband's involvement in Daft Punk, and there was this Daft Punk moment last night with your guitar player doing the vocoder thing, and Omar going the typical from the floor, hard-hitting snare and bass drum.
Right.
It was such a great moment.
Oh, thanks. I feel like it's such a celebration, that moment, giving the audience some fun. Yeah. And giving ourselves some fun after all that concentration, playing really hard music, really hard changes, and so just to improvise like in that way. I had the sequencer going, and we try to sync up, and we're really excited about having maybe just a couple, like 1 or 2 dance pieces, and it's definitely influenced by Daft Punk because. Did you hear the tune Giorgio by Moroder?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so when I first heard the record, I was like, oh my God, they kept a drum solo on a major release.
Yeah.
And that's so unique. So
that's true.
I was like, there can be a lot of openness with dance music and electronic progressive house, and I feel like working with really getting DJ skills together, because I had warped in a lot of tunes to try to do a DJ tune at the end, but it was interesting how it didn't exactly pan out, because I warped Children of the Night, I warped Get Lucky, and I warped Lewis Cole's Get Lucky, so I could mix them together, and then I warped In Your Eyes, and I warped David Bowie's Let's Dance, because the idea was like, okay, everything we played on, like I played on In Your Eyes, and I played on Children of the Night, and Omar played on Let's Dance, and he played on Get Lucky, and then we just loved Lewis Cole anyway, so I was gonna like use that and bring the push and like use samples. I have them laid out, but I wasn't satisfied with my abilities yet, so I didn't want to step all over it, So it was really funny when Lewis, it turned out he could use a vocoder, but he didn't exactly know where to use the vocoder, so we like kind of were like, yo, you don't even know what you have in your toolbox there, so try this,
I realized Omar telling him, vocoder, vocoder.
Yeah, because he uses it, he thinks of it differently, and it's interesting because it's all right there, but it's only if you study dance music that you know what power you have with the sounds. And that's what I love about, that electronic music. They are so in touch with the sound. Like even like certain DJs like Toki Monster, she'll use a car door slam as a snare. And so it makes you think differently, like field recordings and all this stuff. Really interesting to me.
But do you realize when you say car door slam, that you're just welcome to just, I mean, who would not welcome you? So please. Okay. Yeah, we are rolling and.
Yeah, we're rolling tape. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can say hi.
Hello, everyone.
We're talking about the Daft Punk, your work on Daft Punk, but then our improv last night. They really liked it.
Yes.
The audience really and I hope, I think, I guess they got the innuendo with Daft Punk, you know.
All right.
I hope.
Maybe. I don't know that that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
You know, because dance grooves have existed for a long time with this idea of the four on the floor.
Yeah.
And what's changed is the sound, but not necessarily the function of what four on the floor does.
But you know, I mean, I'm a sound person also. I mean, like, I'm feeling like I'm a sound person. You know, I like sound. So when I hear you play, I probably could tell you play with my eyes closed. You know,
wow.
because I hear Let's Dance, I hear Daft Punk. You know, I hear that. You know, because it's a certain type of, you know, just sound you have, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's like a
And it
celebration
and it just
when he plays, right?
it transcends the different styles. I think it's a certain and that's a monumental achievement. You know, if you think about it, you know, that whatever I play, I have my sound. I mean, this is like
Right.
Yes.
that's what I feel. I mean, really.
Cool.
Super cool.
So you currently explore the possibilities of your next recording as you're doing your live performances.
Oh yeah.
So you check out where the recording we will probably do this year.
Yeah.
So what the recording will be like, you're exploring this right now on the tour.
Exactly.
I find this a very interesting concept, and maybe even the perfect concept, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
You want to talk about that?
Well, we've been working on some of these tunes for like 2 years, by the way, with our young bass player Jonathan Toscana, who is like part of the formation team, you know. And so once we got out here, like that tune at the end, by the way, it's partially a tune called Eyes to the Future that we had written part of it, you know.
Which is sort of the name of the album. This too.
Okay.
It's going to be called Eyes to the Future.
Okay.
Yeah, and because of all this music, you know. But getting to play it on tour was really technically our manager's idea, Anders Chan Tiedemann. And he's really, really actually quite a visionary as a manager. And he's very demanding musically. And he encouraged us to really team up with Lindley. And that has been very interesting. And Kurt Rosenwinkel will probably be on the record. And that team is perfect because it brings in the grungy rock sound and expansive harmonic concept of Kurt Rosenwinkel. And then the funky freedom of Lindley, you know, that you can't, and it just makes Omar really, I would let you describe how you feel about that.
Well, Lindley is such a strong player, rhythmically and harmonically, that the way he plays, it makes it possible for me to be completely free on the drum set.
So it takes some of the slack off you in some respect?
Yes,
all right.
in many ways it
Okay.
does. So, of course, and when it's time to groove, he has the discipline to groove though. But when it's time to get crazy and chaotic and bananas, you know, he can also do that with me, but it still maintains a foundation, like a solid feeling.
I see.
So this is very important to have between the bass and drums, because you could create a lot of excitement this way. And in my mind, this tour represents, it's almost like a buzz tour for me in many ways. It's and also an opportunity to try out a new idea in front of people where you're very vulnerable and you're not sure if it's going to work. You know what I mean? So it's like we're taking a chance, but we're taking a chance, you know, trying to blend together some things that maybe don't always normally go together. You know what I mean? This idea of, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a combination. You know,
Alternative rock.
It's like Weather Report meets Nirvana.
I
at a
see.
dance club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like that's a fucked up
Yeah,
combination. But you know, the question is it possible?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that actually possible? So we're trying, and I think that, like she said, Kurt Rosenwinkel is an interesting guitarist because he has tremendous jazz harmonic knowledge and language, but he also has the sensibility of a rock guitar player.
Yeah.
So he brings this same balance that we're looking for.
An Americana.
You know, this the balance of the, you know, all of these things. So we have a challenge, you know, and I think that we're getting some good positive confirmation from the audience that we're headed in a good direction.
Good. Excellent. Now you gave me the right cue for my last question, and that was Nirvana. Because last night you ossified, as you said yourself, you ossified the Foo Fighters tune in those days.
Yeah.
These days, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering, what is the decision process between you two? Which song to choose for an experiment like that?
I mean, we just pick our favorite song.
Yeah, like
We
that
fall in love
one.
with the song.
Yeah,
Okay.
you fall in love with the song, and then there is a certain amount of melodic content that has to be there that's very clear because it's instrumental. So we're gonna say that song. We don't have any singer, so it can't be kind of like a floaty melody. Like These Days has a really great riff, and then I don't know, when I started practicing it, I was just like, oh shoot, it sounds good in 15/8. So we were like, and then we just evolved the whole thing into like, 15/8, 4/4.
4/4, 7/8, all these different time signatures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part that we could take a rock song, still kind of stay true to the melody, but then add this weird challenge to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That makes it even challenging for us. We had to really practice that 15/8 groove to make it feel like we're not playing in a not time signature, but just to let it flow. And then when Lindley got in the band, because he's so free, then it really got crazy because he's not he doesn't have any fear about time signatures or harmonic ideas or and he could challenge me, so we spark each other. Very interesting.
Yeah, similar to you and Victor Bailey.
That's true.
Victor Bailey used to
God bless
him
his
up.
soul.
Yeah, we miss him, and that's why we're doing Sweet Tooth just to keep him, close to us. But it's a similar bounce that he and Lindley have that
That's
challenges the drummer, and also he's a great trio player because he can really interact in the way, like I like to play like Bill Evans' trio, the way Scott LaFaro would get up there, and Lindley can do that on electric bass in a nice way. And so that's our young bass player Jonathan Toscano helped us with the organ, the arrangement. He went to New School, so he's very adept with odd time also. So we were able to develop our arrangements.
Pretty cool. So, I believe this wraps up our interview for today. So, thank you so much. And Omar, thanks for stopping by.
Okay.
Maybe next time a few more questions for you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Would
perfect.
be awesome.
Thank you.